Hello friends, this is Junie. Thank you for tuning in as we continue this week's lesson. Today's lesson, the enemy's strategy. So he has some strategy, and so we want to make sure that we are not caught up in his traps or in his schemes. So question A, in the most fast-paced era in which we live, what does God mercifully provide and why? So God has provided something. We want to know what it is and why he has given us that. And so in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, it says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. So there is to everything there is a season. So we know that has to do with our time. There's a time for every purpose under heaven. And so we want to make sure that we are being mindful of our time. In Christ Object Lessons, page 342, it says the value of time is beyond computation. Christ regarded every moment as precious, and it is thus that we should regard it. Life is too short to be trifled away. We have but a few days of probation and wish to prepare for eternity. We have no time to waste, no time to devote to selfish pleasure, no time for the indulgence of sin. And so we need to ask the Lord, please help me, reveal to me, what am I doing with my time? Because we want to make it useful. And so sometimes we have so much to do that we really don't know what to do, what items to actually do, because there's so much. We're living in a fast pace. It's the next project. So we want to make sure that God approves of what we're doing with our time. And it says our time belongs to God. Every moment is his, and we are under the most solemn obligation to improve it to his glory. If no talent he has given, will he require a more strict account than of our time? So there's no talent that we can state, because it says it right there, that of all the talents that we have, our time will be required of us. We have to give a strict account of what we've done with our time. And as we can see, for those of us that are older, time is flying. It's almost like you don't know what you've accomplished. But as we draw closer to Christ, he's going to help us to improve, and he's going to help us to know exactly what we should do with our time. And so question B, what factors should we take into consideration as we plan our use of time? So what should we consider when we're planning, when we want to do all these things, and we know for sure we have to get this done, that done? What should we take into account? James 4 verses 13 to 15 says, go to now, ye that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city and continue there a year, and buy and sell and get gain. Whereas ye know not what shall be in the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time, and then vanisheth away. For that ye ought to say, so this is what we need to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. So if we live to see tomorrow, we will do such and such. If we were to live to see, next year, now it doesn't mean that we don't plan. It's just that we need to consider that who's given us that. God has given us a time for us to do all these things. He's given us, we don't know how long we have on this earth. We need to plan, but at the same time, we're not guaranteed. I can't guarantee that I will meet you tomorrow. I can't guarantee you that I will do the lesson tomorrow. But I will say, God's willing. In the island we were raised saying that. God's will. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll do this tomorrow. We don't never guarantee that tomorrow, that we will see tomorrow. And so may God help us to even add that in our vocabulary when we speak to our friends, our family, God willing, I will see you tomorrow. God willing, we'll do this next Sabbath. Or God's willing, we can get together. And so as we think about that, then we are very mindful that we don't wake up ourselves, that we're mindful that there's a creator that wakes us up, and that there's a creator that is in control of time. So it's his time, it's his time. So we need to ask God, is this your way? Will I be able to do this? So it will be his time. So we want to be mindful of today's lesson of our time, that even though we have to give a strict account of our time, we want to make sure who's in control of our time. And let us remember, like we just read, that our time belongs to God. C, in seeking to advance God's work, what must we realize? What must we realize? And 1 Peter 5 verse 8 says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walking about, seeking whom he may devour. So the enemy is pictured as a lion, and I can just envision that he's coming to us, and whenever they're coming with a vengeance. They're coming to kill. And so we want to make sure that when we go out there, you start up your car, and as you're about to go, you want to ask God's protection. So, because many times we have to do so many things that we don't even pray before we start the car. We don't even pray between places that we're going. We just assume, I'll meet you at the store, I'll meet you at the office, not realizing I need the presence of God to be with me. I need God's protection. So we need to know that we need to be sober. We need to be we need to be alert. I like to say mindful a lot, but because we need to consider that. And so may the Lord help us that we will be reminded that an adversary, an enemy, is out there. He is seeking for those that are not mindful. He's seeking for those that are not sober, meaning that you don't have all your faculties together, so you almost are not on guard. And so he is seeking those. And so may God help us as we're studying, that we will understand that we have a heaven to win and a hell to shun. And the only way that we can master this, or to always keep that in our minds, is to spend time with God, to understand this is his time. The time we're studying is his. We don't know at the end of this lesson if we will even see it. And so I know a lot of people that are in the hospital right now, they don't know if they'll come out. But we just trust that even when we go and see them, God's willing, I will see you this afternoon. We've got a couple of visits that we have to do this afternoon. And so I just want to remind us to always put in mind that we are living on, first of all, borrowed time. And so as we are doing our businesses, as we're doing our biddings, as we're doing whatever it is, that we are on God's time. And so here we have no time to lose. It says, the powers of darkness are working with intense energy, and with stealthy tread, Satan is advancing to take those who are now asleep, as a wolf taking his prey. We have warnings now which we may give, a work now which we may do, but soon it will be more difficult than we imagine. God help us to keep in the channel of light, to work with our eyes fastened upon our leader, and patiently, perseveringly press on till the victory is gained. And so we want to make sure that we are persevering to the end. We are pressing on, because soon all of this will end. And so we need to have victory. We know that there's victory to gain, and so we want to make sure that we have victory every single day. It's not spasmodic, it's not here and there. but we want to have interrupted victories. And the only time we can have uninterrupted victories is if we are mindful again that our time belongs to God. So we want to make sure that we have that understanding. Question D, what does inspiration teach about the struggle before us? And we know the enemy is going after us. And so what should we consider? It says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. We are no match. We are no match for the enemy. And so may the Lord help us to know that the times that we're living in, that we need to spend more time with him. And just doing our lesson, we're just kind of reading the Bible verses, but we can cross-reference. That's adding time to, or adding value to our study, adding value to our spending time with God. In Matthew 24, verses 12 and 13, it says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And so as we are walking on this, our pilgrim way, and so we want to make sure that we endure to the end. We need to hang in there. If you feel discouraged, just hang tight. Christ is coming. And should he puts us to sleep, it's okay. It's all right. We just need to make sure that we have peace with him. And God's willing, we will see each other on the sea of glass. And so may the Lord help us to recognize that we need to make a drastic change. And that drastic change is to evaluate our time, to make sure that we are spending time with the creator of all of the universe. He's a loving and patient God, and he desires to save you and I and our families and our friends. And so we can help Christ by, first of all, making sure that we make our calling and election sure, and to also to reach out to those that we know that are around us, not just people we know, but even those we don't know. So be encouraged. Christ is coming. He wants you and I to make it. It says, with intensified zeal and energy, we are to carry forward the work of the Lord till the close of time. So all this will be over one day, but we want to make sure that we are with our that we are with our God, that all the time, every time, in the morning, especially the times that we want to be mindful of our prayer time, morning and noon and at evening, we want to at least have those timed. We need to specifically put a time that we have morning worship, and our noon time and our evening time, that we need to be specific. So when we're caught up in the daily task, we know, Lord, I'm running late, but my time was with you at 7 o'clock in the morning or at 6 o'clock in the morning. In our evening time, 7:30, whatever that time is, I had to practice that, put that into on my calendar. When is my worship time? So be encouraged, brethren. I don't want to be too long, but I just love this lesson, and I pray that you and I will continue to be faithful. Jesus is coming. Maranatha.